School's getting back in session, so here's a quick math lesson. Right now, we've got 43 million Americans with $1.3 trillion in student debt. More than 7 million have not paid their bills in at least a year, putting them in default. Kathy Lynn Taylor thinks taxpayers could be on the hook for yet another bailout. Danielle McLaughlin disagrees. Kathy, why are we going to be on the hook for this? We, the taxpayers.
Yeah, well, back to school is going to be, for America, in the red. This is an enormous problem. And if folks thought that the recession due to the mortgage crisis was an issue, that could be nothing compared to this. We have $1.2 trillion in debt. That's more than credit card debt. That's more than auto loans. It is an enormous number. And almost 50% of these kids that hold this debt don't finish college. So we're preying on students, which is completely unfair. The federal government is subsidizing loans and basically saying everybody can go to school and we'll get through it somehow. What's the somehow? Who pays for that? You, me, the taxpayers. That's an unsustainable, major threat and problem to this country.
How is that fair, though? If I went to a cheap school and didn't take out student debt for that, why should I, a taxpayer, be on the hook for that?
Well, it's not fair, right? But this isn't the only place where we have these issues where the government is making policy decisions about what they might incentivize people to do or not do. I agree we have huge problems with the debt as it is outstanding. And I think we've seen bipartisan support actually for what we're going to do about refinancing at different lower loan rates, some element of forgiveness, or as Marco Rubio has said, some sort of proportion of your payment of your your income. So 10% of your income automatically goes. I think it's not right, but we see this with mortgage interest, for example. The government allows us to deduct our mortgage interest because it wants to encourage this kind of behavior. And frankly, higher education is a very important priority for this country.
But it's the government involvement in the loan business in and of itself. I think that 1 out of 6 U.S. adults have some sort of government-backed debt. The U.S. government essentially controls the student loan market. The problem therein is what you do is it's just like the housing crisis. You make all this debt plentiful. People take out $250,000 to go to a school and then get a real lousy degree.
We're delaying the inevitable. If we think Obamacare is expensive and a disaster, this is going to be the poster child student debt for why the government should not be in business. Right? And not everybody can go to the same kind of college, the same kind of school. And we're setting people up not for success, but for disaster instead of coming up with different options and better standards. Really, at the end of the day, this comes down to standards. We let go of our standards as a country for housing lending. We're letting go of our standards in terms of who we underwrite loans to and how we subsidize and how we look at repayment. Repayment and refinancing, lower rates, deferrals, that just delays. That's a band-aid.
But people want forgiveness, and then that basically.
Who doesn't? I want it too.
But that relieves them of their personal responsibility for taking the loan out in the first place.
No, absolutely. And I'm an advocate for a personal responsibility. I know that you think probably many Democrats aren't. But the problem is we have a problem. And the real question is, what are we going to do about it? So refinancing at 2% instead of 8%, that makes an enormous difference in terms of bringing down
the 6% differential.
Well, so here's the thing. It's a risk pool. It's high interest rates because we have so many defaults. If we bring down the interest rate, we will have fewer defaults, more people will pay, and then we will have less exposure to everybody else.
We've done that over the last few years, and it hasn't worked. Defaults are up.
Interest rates are at 6 and 8%. I have student loans. It's horrendous. I was able to refinance, which is wonderful. Many people can't. I think that's where we need to focus.
I'll say one thing. The government has started garnishing wages, and they took in about $500 million in just the 9 months ending March. They're getting tough, and there's going to be a backlash on that too because people don't want to pay.
No, and nor should they.
All right, Kathy, good to see you, and Danielle, thank you so much.
Megan.
Happy Labor Day.
You too.
Want to